feel too far away. Actually, I don't know how to move the camera, so too far. I don't want to move the camera. I guess everyone can move closer. Really? Punjabi Hare. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Jasodhanandana Brajajana Rajana. Jasodhanandana Brajajana Rajana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naram Sheva Narottamam Deva Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Jai. Thank you everyone for coming. We'll be reading for the 10th canto, chapter 48, verse 27 of the Bhagavatam, of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, Dishtya Janardana Bhavan Ihana Pratito Yogeshwarware api durapagati sudeshai. Chendi ashuna sutakalatradandapgeha. Deha dimoharashanam bhavadiyamayam. Dishta janardana bhavan ihana pratito. Yogeshwarer api durapagati sureshai. Chindi ashuna sutakalatradhanaptagyeha. Deha dimoharashanam bhavadiyamayam. Dishtya janardana bhavan ihana pratito. Yogeshwarer api durapagati sudeshai. Chindi ashuna sutakalatradhanaptagyeha. Deha dimoharashanam bhavadiyamayam. Tishta janardana bhavan ihana pratito. Yogeshwarer api durapagati sudeshai. Chindi ashuna sutakalatradaptageha. Deha dimoharashanam bhavadiyamayam. Anyone else? No? Okay. Should I? Word for word. Dishtya. By fortune. Janardana. O Krishna. Bhavan. You. Iha. Here. Naha. By us. Pratitaha. Perceivable. Yoga Ishwarihi. By the masters of mystic yoga. Api. Even. Durapagatihi. A goal hard to achieve. Sura Ishaihi. And by the rulers of the demigods. Chindi. Please cut. Ashu. Quickly. Naha. Our. Sutta. For children. Kalatra. Wife. Dana. Wealth. Apta. Worthy friends. Geha. Home. Deha. Body. Adi. And so on. Moha. Of delusion. Rashanam. The ropes. Bhavadiya. Your own. Mayam. Illusory material energy. Translation and no purport by the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jaya. Translation. And this translation is spoken by the uncle of Krishna and devotee of Krishna, of course, Akrura. So Akrura says, quote, "It is by our great fortune, Janardana, that you are now visible to us, for even the masters of yoga and the foremost demigods can achieve this goal only with great difficulty. Please quickly cut the ropes of our illusory attachment for children, wife, wealth, influential friends, home, and body. All such attachments is simply the effect of your illusory material energy. Agyantimanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhattabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya, Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm grateful. Of course, as usual, I can't start without offering my gratitude to my mother, my brother, His Grace Jaya Jagannath Prabhu. But there's also a few distinguished guests in our audience today. A lot of my peers, Alona Mataji, Naveen, Tatiana, Donovan, and well, you're kind of not my peer. I guess you're my elder. Huh? Oh, you can't hear. I say you're my peer, but you're definitely not in our generation. So, but thank you for coming. I appreciate that. So, anyways, the reason I took this opportunity is to express gratitude. So, since there's a lot of devotees in our audience today that I can express gratitude, I can't start it off without kind of mentioning some of your services, and because the class yesterday was about gratitude actually. And so, first of all, in general, thank you, everyone. I'm very blessed to have all of yours association. So, but as far as Harinam is concerned, definitely for many years, I've asked many devotees to go with me. Few here and there, but nobody likes me. Nobody wants to go with me. But I have to thank Alona Mataji because we went a few times last year actually to the place we're doing Harinam now. Alona, and she's doing so much service for obviously not just the Russian community. She happens to be a devotee who was born in Russia. And so she's not a Russian devotee, she's the devotee who happens to be Russian. And that's very important because we never say the American devotees. I met her through my friend Sergey Prabhu, and so, to teach Mridanga lessons, but she's doing so much service and bringing so many people to Christian consciousness, especially during this pandemic on online preaching. And it just expanded, not just in Chicago. And of course, Violet is one of the people, but if she had a list of resume, I'm sure she brought many people, but devotees are very humble, so she doesn't let us know how many people, but I know that they have a big Zoom community. And her and Sergey, and of course the senior devotees that are kind of facilitating the Russian program have brought so many devotees to Christian consciousness. And thank you very much. And definitely, probably would have started Harinam a long time ago, but unfortunately, her work, her preaching in the Russian community and Mridanga lessons here and there, so many activities. But and of course, I already mentioned this. Naveen, thank you for collaborating with me at Atmarama Prabhu, and somehow other Krishna is blessing us with so many external results. But it's up to everyone to still focus on your own sadhana to keep the Krishna consciousness going, even if the external results leave, because that's the tendency. When we have external results, we're very enthusiastic. When we don't have any external results, then why chant my rounds? Why go on book distribution? Why perform Harinam Sankirtan if there's not a good congregation of devotees? So, but still, Krishna has blessed us, and definitely, Naveen, you're instrumental in that. And also, apparently, some devotees are present here today. The Gainesville devotees, 3 Matajis here. And apparently, they were instrumental in inspiring you to, because I believe, from what you told me, while the pandemic was going on, you and your husband, Josh Prabhu, visited Gainesville, Florida, and you met so many wonderful devotees there. And a few of them that you met in Gainesville are here today. I don't know all their names, but definitely they inspired you to start Harinam and book distribution in Chicago. So we're very blessed that you're utilizing your time, because the thing is that, everyone has free time. Nobody can say, I don't have any free time. Everyone has time for sense gratification. Nobody can say, I don't. But the tendency is that when we do have free time, it's like, why should I do book distribution? Why should I perform Harinam Sankirtan? Why should I do all these activities? They seem like a waste of time, but actually it's the best utilization of time. And there's many things could be said on that point. And of course, in general, thanks to all the devotees who have blessed me with their association, and Tatiana and Donovan, and of course, I've only recently met you guys within the last several months, and hopefully our relationship will continue for time to come. So thank you for coming. So that was a preface, and the reason it was a long preface because we have a few people who are not ordinarily here. So as usual, I'll start the class off today with a quote that sets the theme of what we'll be discussing today. There's obviously been many curveballs while we started today, but Krishna's in control. We can't do everything so perfectly, so this quote is by Edmund Lee, and he says, quote, and this actually kind of reminds me of what I just kind of mentioned, expressing my gratitude to you guys. So it says, quote, surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers, the believers and the thinkers, but most of all, surround yourself with those who see the greatness within you, even when you don't see it yourself, end quote. So I'll repeat that, quote, surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers, the believers and the thinkers, but most of all, surround yourself with those who see the greatness within you, even when you don't see it yourself, end quote. So I'm obviously surrounded by many people who are very great and see the greatness within everyone by your association. So in this regard, it's described in chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita that there's greatness within everyone, regardless of your nationality, creed, color, class, gender, or species. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hasini Shune Chava Swapakecha Pandita Samardarshanam. But what prevents us from seeing the greatness either within ourselves or within others? Mamai Bamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha Manashishtani Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshati. Lord Krishna says in chapter 15, verse 7 of the Gita, that everyone is a great personality. Why? Because everyone is part and parcel of him, right? Just like if there's a rich, a royal king, because this king has many children, everyone respects the children as much as the king. In much the same way, everyone is a great personality because we're parts and parcels of the king of the universe, Lord Krishna. Aham bija pradabhita. So therefore, Lord Krishna says, I am the father of all living entities. So in this verse, Krishna says everyone is a great personality. But why? Because we're part and parcel of him. But what prevents us from seeing our own greatness or the greatness within others? Manashishtani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. We're blinded by the mind and senses, which is full of ignorance. So in the Bhagavatam, is described, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavatiya Kinchana Sarve Gunais Tatra Samasate Suraha. It describes what is knowledge. It distinguishes knowledge from ignorance. Knowledge means to see with good qualities such as humility, appreciation, forgiveness. And what is ignorance? Ignorance means to be blinded by bad qualities such as pride, envy, and vengeance. For example, I remember when I first came to the temple, there was a lot of emphasis, like, for example, prasadam. So prasadam usually refers to sacred food. Now, for me, this is just ordinary food, but I remember one particular devotee, he's actually, I'm not going to mention his name, but he gives classes now, and he was really emphasizing this point, that, when devotees drop food on the floor, do not step on it because it's sacred food, it's offered to the Lord, right? And so literally for a long time, I was like literally tiptoeing around the prasadam hall, making sure I didn't step on the food. But then I was like, okay, I'll chant Hare Krishna for God to forgive me because you can't avoid it all the time. But nevertheless, the reason we don't see it as ordinary food anymore is because we have the eyes of knowledge. Somebody enlighten us. So, and it's very simple that and I'm sure other devotees have experienced, is that why do we respect and revere Jagannath Prasadam, sacred food, Govardhan Shila, sacred stone, or Brindabadam, sacred land? Because it's connected to the Lord, right? But why don't we so much revere and respect pretty much all living entities, especially devotees of the Lord? Aren't they connected to the Lord also? Mamaivamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Krishna says they're connected to me because they're a part and parcel of me. So why can't we see, generally speaking, the greatness within other living entities, especially devotees who have taken to Krishna consciousness and are trying their very best? Because, or you could say, why do we see the greatness within sacred food, sacred stone, and sacred land more than the devotees of the Lord? Because, for example, sacred stone, Govardhan Shila, it doesn't talk back to us. It doesn't ignore us. It doesn't dishonor us, nor does it, compete with us. So therefore, it's very much hard to see all the devotees of the Lord as sacred. But suppose Govardhan Shila, because we learn in the Bhagavatam that basically all the energies of the Lord are personified. Bhumi, Mother Earth, she's personified. Even there's mention the sky is personified. So nothing in Krishna's creation is impersonal, actually. So suppose Govardhan Shila, the sacred stone, suppose it spoke, actually, and it told us, Prabhu, you are so puffed up. I know way devotees better than, we would throw the stone down and kick it. Actually, you're not that sacred at all. Similarly, this is exactly what we do to devotees. We cannot see their sacredness when they ignore us, when they mistreat us, etc. But therefore, in the Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, chapter 2, verse 47, it's a very important verse that Prabhupada quotes in the Nectar of Instruction, actually, I believe, text 5. And it says, Archayam eva hadaye, pujam yashradaye hate, nata bateshu chanyeshu, sa bhakta prakriti shmritaha. It says, even if Archayam, even if one is pujam, worshiping the deity of the Lord or God himself, but he does not show proper respect to devotees or people in general, that person is considered to be the lowest devotee, and he'll find himself in a lot of trouble, basically. And so this is a very important point in regards to our relationship between each other. And so Krishna, he always chastises us if we don't have the proper mentality, and so therefore we read these books so we could keep our consciousness in check and balance. So that's one point to keep in mind. So as far as seeing with the eyes of knowledge, the difference between knowledge and ignorance is concerned, I'll use a more, you could say, layman example, something that me and Donovan could get up with, Michael Jordan. So, does everyone know who Michael Jordan is? Raise your hand if you don't. All right, great. Alona doesn't know who Michael Jordan is. That's like consider a sin or a great blasphemy if you don't know. So that's good. I'm glad somebody doesn't know who Michael Jordan is. So suppose Michael Jordan. Okay, do you know what? Suppose, let's say Michael Jordan was in a room right now. Could anyone point them out who doesn't know him? No, you cannot point them out, right? So therefore, the eyes are. Just suppose somebody says, here, somebody gives you, let's say, some money or a gift, and they ask you, my dear Alona, can you give this gift to Michael Jordan? And then her response would naturally be, who is Michael Jordan? And so then, therefore, the lesson is that the eyes aren't insufficient to see things as they are. You need the eyes of knowledge. And so therefore, how do we see people as a great personality? We have information about them. In much the same way, this verse today describes that Akrura, Lord Krishna became visible to him. Why? Because he had the eyes of knowledge. He was enlightened with Krishna consciousness, Krishna's name, Krishna's form, his guna, qualities, his rupa, his beauty, and his lila, his pastimes. So therefore he can understand, yes, Krishna, he's not only a great personality, but he's the greatest personality in the universe. So in much the same way, in order for us to understand each other's greatness, we need the eyes of knowledge to understand that, yes, we're part and parcel of Krishna. So the conclusion is, there's many other examples. There's many other examples you could use. Somebody may say, put out the fire. Suppose Naveen, she has a small child, Jivani, and suppose you told your child, let's say when he's old enough to understand language, but he doesn't know basically all the objects in his world. He can't identify all the objects in his world. And suppose you tell him, my dear son, put out that fire, because he hasn't learned his ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. He doesn't know what is fire. So the eyes are insufficient. So the lesson is that it's described in many places in the Bhagavatam how Krishna could be both manifest and unmanifest to someone. How? That just like Michael Jordan, he's both manifest and unmanifest. He's manifest to those who have the eyes of knowledge, and he's unmanifest to those who are blinded by ignorance. In much the same way, Krishna is manifest to the devotees who have good qualities. They could see with the eyes of knowledge, the eyes of good qualities. And he's invisible, despite being in front of him, he's invisible to those who have bad qualities. So this is basically where we're going to be discussing today. So the conclusion is this: wise people don't exclusively see with their eyes. They inclusively see with the eyes of knowledge. So therefore in the Gita, Krishna says, Naham prakasha sarvasa yogamaya samabritaha mudoyam nabijinati lokamama jamaviyayam. So this is verse from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 25. Before I continue, does anyone have Vedabase on their phone? Can anyone look up Vedabase? You have Vedabase? So, and can someone get their microphone? Jaya, thank you. So I'll ask devotees, whoever wants to read a couple of purports. That way it'll buy me time to look at my notes. But no, it's actually a very important verse. These couple of verses I'm going to mention, they're actually very important in regards to today's verse. They're very similar. So do you have, can you look up chapter 7, anyone? Can anyone look up chapter 7, verse 25? So I guess we can all look at it. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. Who wants to read it? Do you want to read it? Okay. All right, the verse and then part of the purport.
I am...
Lord Christian said, so yeah, go ahead.
You said chapter 24 or 25?
Chapter 7, verse 25. Subal Pro is not here for audio, so...
Chapter 7, verse 25. Says, I am never manifest.
Yeah, you have the mic. Yeah, that's the correct verse. So.
I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn.
His class is full of surprises today.
Testing. Okay, I'm going to read it again. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Purport. It may be argued... Does someone else want to read the purport?
You could go ahead, because I have another verse to read, so...
Okay. It may be argued that since Krishna was visible to everyone when he was present on this earth, how can it be said that he is not manifest to everyone? But actually, he was not manifest to everyone. When Krishna was present, there were only a few people who could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the assembly of Kurus, when Shishpala spoke against Krishna's being elected president of the assembly, Bhishma supported him and proclaimed him to be the supreme God. Similarly, the Pandavas and a few others knew that he was the supreme, but not everyone. He was not revealed to the non-devotees and the common man. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that but for his pure devotees, all men consider him to be like themselves. He was manifest only to his devotees as a reservoir of all pleasure, but to others, to unintelligent non-devotees, he was covered by his eternal potency.
Yeah, that's good. So Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada says the same thing, that although Sevananda is the volume, okay? Did you turn it down? Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I can't. Prabhupada says the same thing, that although Krishna was present before, visible before the devotees and non-devotees, how come the devotees saw Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because they had good qualities, so therefore Krishna revealed himself to the devotees, and he covered himself from the non-devotees. He didn't reveal himself because he had bad qualities. So that's a lesson we could take, that in order us to become, you could say, get out of a lot of situations, especially in Krishna consciousness, then you have to manifest good qualities. Then Krishna revealed many things to you. But if you want to latch on to your bad qualities, then fine, that's your choice. And then you'll find yourself in a lot of, you could say, a lot of external and internal battles. And therefore you won't be able to see anything as they are. Just like if you're in a battlefield, then what can you see? Somebody may ask you, did you notice that such and such over there? No, I was too involved in the battle, so I can't see so many things, right? So you're distracted by so many things. Just like if you're another battle, like let's say basketball, did you notice such and such person in the audience? No, I was stuck in this battle of playing this other team. So you don't know which celebrities are in the audience, right? So Krishna's the supreme celebrity, and because if we have bad qualities, we're always battling each other and battling our own inner demons, and not sincerely praying to Krishna to defeat these demons, then we won't see so many things. So Krishna, so that's the lesson we can take. And so there's also another similar verse that anyone wants to read. Anyone else wants to? So there's verses from the verse and purport is from the 10th canto, chapter 43, verse 17. 10:43:17.
We all know what happened to that devotee that spoke out against Krishna being elected the first honors.
Yeah, Donovan Prabhu, he went to New Vrindavan recently, and he says he could actually get some reading done. Because it's hard to get reading done, so many temple services. So when he went on, you could say, a spiritual vacation to New Vrindavan, actually Alona just recently went to New Vrindavan too for the first time, so they both appreciate it and loved it. But he started to read the Mahabharata, and he actually finished it while here. And I was very surprised because, I told him I appreciated it. This is one appreciation for anyone who really loves to read in this day and age, because pretty much, I could probably criticize myself too, but most of us are zombies, right? Always stuck in the phone. Before the year 2000, we actually talked to each other. Now we could be in the same room and text each other. Phone still stuck in the head. So, and not only that, including my brother, and also there's a nice devotee coming to our temple. I've watched his videos for many years, and you could tell he doesn't waste time. I'm an Manindra Prabhu, so he'll be giving a Sunday feast lecture. And obviously, you can't know that many verses. You can't present Krishna consciousness in such a beautiful, eloquent way if you're wasting time. And so that's a lesson we could. So I also appreciated Donovan. Like, you read the whole Mahabharata, whatever version it was. I'm like, that's very impressive in this day and age. So it's obviously the proper utilization of time. And so he was mentioning the pastime where Shishupad criticized Krishna. He only had 100 opportunities to criticize Krishna. And then finally Krishna like, okay, after the 100th time, you obviously not going to learn your lesson. And so he cut off his head. So it's described that when Krishna kills the demons, he's actually killing the inner demons within us. And the lesson we could take from Shishupal is that Krishna may give us so many opportunities to correct our behavior. And if he doesn't, he may send some difficulty, some misery. So he may not, so sometimes we may think, oh, I did something, thought something offensive, I spoke something offensive, or I did something offensive. But Krishna must be sanctioning it because I'm not experiencing reaction, right? Shishupal, he also criticized Krishna once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And he was like, there must be no supreme control and nothing's happened to me. But Krishna, he gives us opportunities to correct our behavior. And if we don't, then it's still a great blessing when he punishes us or puts us through a difficulty, some austerity. Because generally speaking, we're not inclined to, be disciplined in our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And so he was mentioning that. So the verse, do you have the verse?
You said 10:43, 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways.
Before you continue reading, so this verse is actually mentioned where Lord Krishna, he entered the wrestling arena.
Yeah.
Akrura brought him there by Kamsa's order. And so when he entered this wrestling arena, everyone visibly saw who Krishna was. And among the audience in the arena was both devotees and non-devotees. And everyone had their opinion about Krishna. In much the same way in our own lives, we may hear about one personality, but there are a million biographies about who that personality is. Some are good, some are bad. And like, are we talking about the same person? So similarly, this verse also describes that devotees and non-devotees are giving their opinions of who Krishna is. And so that was the preface to the verse you're reading.
The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the cowherd men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bhojas as death, the unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis as the absolute truth, and the Vrishnis as the supreme worshipable deity. Purport?
Yeah, you can read some of the purport.
Srila Sridhar Swami quotes the following verse, which explains the 10 attitudes towards Krishna described here. There are 10 different moods: fury, perceived by the wrestlers; wonder, by the men; conjugal attraction, the women; laughter, the cowherds; chivalry, the kings; mercy, his parents; terror, Kamsa; ghastliness, the unintelligent; peaceful neutrality, the yogis; and loving devotion, the Vrishnis.
I think the one that starts off with Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. So.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that people like the wrestlers, Kamsa, and the impious rulers perceive Krishna as dangerous, angry, or threatening because they fail to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead. Actually, Lord Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher, but because we rebel against him, he chastises us, and thus we may perceive him as threatening. Krishna, or God, is actually merciful, and when he punishes us, that is also his mercy.
Jai, thank you. Jai, so it mentions the same thing. The devotees could see that Krishna was a great personality because they had good qualities, and the non-devotees couldn't see that Krishna was the greatest personality because they were blinded by bad qualities. And so, and now we may argue, because we can't determine anyone's consciousness because you cannot see consciousness, so we can't see people's motivations. We can see what they do, but we can't see why they do it. So we don't know whether or not people's motivations are great, whether they're actually a great personality, or whether they're a charlatan like me. But for Krishna, we all know he's the greatest personality. He could, none of us could say we know everything, but Krishna could say, and this is his humility, he could literally say, I know everything, and be humble about it. So therefore in the Gita, Krishna says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani shar arjuna bhavishani chabutani mantu vedana kashana Krishna says in chapter 7, verse 26, as the supreme personality of Godhead, he said, I'm the greatest personality in all of creation. I know everything that has happened in the past, everything that has happened in the present, and all things are yet to come. So Krishna's a know-it-all, but his know-it-all is not actually pride, it's humility, because he literally knows it all. He knows everything from the smallest atom to the greatest universe and all the intricacies. So there's no question that Krishna's a great personality. Still, those who are blinded by bad qualities still cannot see Krishna's greatness. And so therefore there's a nice quote by Buddha, he says, and this is referring to Lord Krishna, you could say. And because definitely it's a consensus. We all agree, right? We all agree that Krishna is a great personality, right? Is there any consensus? In much the same way, so we can't say, whether others are great personalities in the final analysis, but we all agree that Krishna is the greatest personality. Still, the demons could not see that. And so therefore Buddha says, if a fool be associated with the wise man, even for all his life, he'll perceive the truth as little as a spoon perceives the taste of soup. If an intelligent man be associated for 1 minute only with a wise man, he will soon perceive the truth as much as the tongue perceives the taste of soup. So I've mentioned this before. What's the difference between a spoon and the tongue? A spoon is dead and the tongue is alive, right? In much the same way, if we're spiritually dead with bad qualities such as pride, envy, and vengeance, then we cannot perceive the greatness within anyone but ourselves. And if we're spiritually alive with good qualities, then we can see the greatness within everyone but ourselves. Primeta swabhavyaham primeta sambandha se mane Krishna modanahi primaganda. So this is a verse from the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says, when one is experiencing prema, love of God, then what's the result? The devotee thinks, nahi prima ganda, I have not one drop of love for Krishna. Everyone else has love for Krishna. I have not one drop. So therefore, they're able to see the greatness within everyone but themselves. So this is the mentality of a pure elevated devotee. Of course, we have a long way to go. I mean, I can speak for myself, but I'm sure we all, the tendency is that it's the vice versa. So as far as seeing devotees are concerned, as far as seeing Lord Krishna, so we could see that there's many other examples of how devotees saw other living entities in our scriptures, how devotees saw others and how non-devotees or insincere devotees saw others. So there's always a comparison and contrast between those who teach us what to do and those who teach us what not to do. So therefore, I always mention this quote before. I think Confucius says, if I am walking with 2 other men, each of them will serve as my teacher, and I will pick out the good points of the one and imitate them, and the bad points of the other and correct them in myself. When we see persons of worth, we should think of equaling them. When we see persons of a contrary character, we should turn inward and examine ourselves. Generally speaking, when we see persons of a contrary character, we let them know that they have a contrary character, and therefore we're in this battlefield all the time, and therefore we cannot see so many wonderful things surrounding us, like the devotees who are trying their best. To sincerely serve Krishna to the best of their abilities. So anyways, so this story, this compare and contrast, one of my favorite comparison and contrast of how to see other living entities, especially devotees. So it's a comparison and contrast between a sincere devotee in our scriptures known as Haridas Thakur and an insincere devotee in our scriptures known as Ramachandrapuri. So the reference, if devotees want to look it up. So the first reference for Haridas Thakur is in one of our scriptures known as the Chaitanya Bhagavatam. And the chapter is the Madhya Kand, chapter 10, verses 35 through 44. And I'm going to also contrast it with Ramachandra Puri's story. And so for reference, his story is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Antya Lila, chapter 8, verse 18 through 27. So there's one of my favorite verses, and it's actually, I believe, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in the Bhagavatam. And this is from the 5th canto, chapter 18, verse 13. So it says, Harihi Saksha Bhagavan Shadirinam Amajashanam Ivato Yam Ipsitam Hitwamam Samyadi Sajate Grieta Mahatvam Vayasata Patinam So it describes how we could remain powerful in Christian consciousness, because when we take any endeavor in our lives, we want to be powerful, right? Nobody says, I want to be powerless, right? Everyone wants to be very powerful in what they do. So this verse describes how we can remain powerful in Christian consciousness. So it uses an operative word, jashanam, aquatics. It says, just as a shark who stays in the ocean is powerful, and a shark who strays from the ocean is powerless. So if we stay in the ocean of Christian consciousness, we remain powerful. If we stray from this ocean, we become powerless. So what does that mean? So the pastime of Haridas Thakur that was referenced, many of you may have heard of it, some may have not, but long story short, Haridas Thakur was originally born in another religion, and he converted to Christian consciousness. So the members of his old religion approached him, and they says, my dear Haridas Thakur, if you convert back to our own religion, then there would be no problem for you. But if you don't, you will be sorry. We will beat you in 22 marketplaces. So Haridas Thakur, he says, my dear brothers, just as the sun has many different names in many different languages, what's the name of the sun in Russian? Solnца? I don't know if I heard you right. Solnца? So in Russian is, Tatiana, what's the name of the sun in Spanish? Sol. And anyone else speak any other? You speak Filipino? Arabic. Shams. Shams in Arabic is the sun. Filipino? Oh, okay. He was like, I'm only a quarter Filipino. So the sun is, so we're referring to the same thing. So in much the same way, Haridas Thakur, for whatever reason, you call God a particular name, and I call him Krishna, but we're referring to the same God, just as we're referring to the sun in different languages. They weren't inspired by this logical, common sense wisdom. So they're like, all right, we're going to beat you in 22 marketplaces. Just to set an example of what happens to persons who leave our religion. So this is precisely what they did. They beat them in one marketplace. They went to the next, beat them there. And after the 22nd marketplace, they were completely exhausted. Like they ran like 10 marathons. And they were wondering, Haridas Thakur, he's still smiling. Why is it? So it's described that Lord Chaitanya, he says, my dear Haridas Thakur, my Sudarshan chakra was willing to come from the spiritual world and sever the heads of these religious fanatics. But because you only saw, now see the devotees of the vision of a devotee, because you only saw the goodness within their heart, my Sudarshan chakra was powerless to harm them. And so therefore, what's the lesson we can learn from Haridas Thakur? He was at the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong people, but because he had the right mentality, the ocean of Krishna consciousness, he remained powerful and happy. So how do you know a shark is happy? He's in the ocean, because Haridas Thakur was situated in the ocean of Krishna consciousness. And what does that mean? The ocean of forgiveness, the ocean of tolerance, the ocean of good qualities. He always was happy and powerful. So the lesson is that if we're unhappy, especially when associating with devotees, then that means we're probably not situated in the ocean of Krishna consciousness, which means good qualities. So that's the lesson we could take from Haridas Thakur. The lesson we could take of what not to do from Ramachandra Puri is this. So long story short, there was a devotee, an insincere devotee in our scriptures named Ramachandra Puri. So he had a guru named Madhavendra Puri. And so one day, Madhavendra Puri was on his deathbed, and he was crying in separation of Krishna. But Ramachandra Puri, he criticized his guru because he jumped to conclusion. He didn't know why. He could see what his guru was doing, but he didn't understand why he was doing it. And so therefore, he jumped to conclusion, and he criticized him. He says, my dear Guru Maharaj, in the Gita, Krishna says that the soul is eternal. We're Brahmin, so why are you crying? You know, you should be more enlightened than this. So he was saying the student has become the master. Now imagine going to school and you have your professor. You know, I'm sure all of us went to school. Can you imagine criticizing your professor? Do you think you'll graduate from that course? Probably not, right? No, so nobody. So in much the same way, because Ramachandra Puri, he committed Guru Aparad, the result of that, the domino effect is described that he couldn't see any good in anyone, including the devotees, the very devotees he loved them. He even criticized Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas at this time, and one day he went to the place where Lord Chaitanya was staying, and he saw many ants. He saw many ants. And he was thinking, my dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you're supposed to be a sannyasi, but the primary diet for ants is sugar. So because there's so many ants in your room, you must be hiding sweet rice, rasagula, gulab so many things. And so therefore you must be a bogus sannyasi. And I believe it's also described that Ramachandra Puri would serve the devotees tons of prasadam and basically insisted that they eat up to their neck. And when the devotees ate up to their neck, he called them a pig. See, you're a pig, you're not detached. So he would literally insist that they eat prasadam just so he could find fault. And so it's basically described because of this Guru Aparad, this Vaishnava Aparad, the domino effect is he was always in a battle with himself, and therefore he could not see the greatness of the devotees surrounding him. So the lesson we take from Ramachandra Puri is that I could relate to it more than Haridas Thakur. I know as devotees, probably we prefer to identify with like great saints like Haridas Thakur, Prahlad Maharaj, Jesus Christ. But I could speak for myself, and I'm sure you guys would probably all agree for your own, humbly for your own self, that we could probably relate to the story of Ramachandra Puri a little bit more than Prahlad and Haridas Thakur. So Ramachandra Puri, he was at the right place, at the right time, with the right people, but because he had the wrong mentality, the land of Maya, just like a shark that strays towards the land is powerless and unhappy. Because Ramachandra Puri strayed toward the land of Maya, what does that mean? The land of fault finding, the land of pride, the land of envy, the land of vengeance, the land of so many bad qualities. And so therefore he was always powerless and unhappy. And so we see that Haridas Thakur, he found no faults where there were so many faults. Ramachandra Puri, he found so many faults when there were no faults. And so like Haridas Thakur, the lesson is, if we can find happiness even among our enemies who hate us, that means we'll be able to find happiness everywhere. Like Ramachandra Puri, if we cannot even find happiness among devotees who love us, that means we won't be able to find happiness anywhere. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he called this society the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He never called it the Society for Krishna Circumstances. Why? Because our circumstances are always not Krishna circumstances. You know, there's a lot of drama. They're not always Krishna circumstances. But we learn from Haridas Thakur that even if our circumstances aren't perfect, but if our consciousness is perfect, then we remain powerful and happy, just as a shark is powerful and happy in the ocean. Unlike like Ramachandra Puri, that even if our circumstances are perfect or practically perfect, but if our consciousness isn't perfect, then we remain powerless and unhappy, just as a shark is powerless and unhappy on the land. So this is the vision of a devotee versus a non-devotee. So you could pick and choose which your vision and see how it works out for you. So if we choose Ramachandra Puri's vision, then you'll find that you'll potentially leave Krishna consciousness externally or at minimum internally, where you have no life. You don't want to chant your rounds, you don't want to associate with devotees, but somehow or other you at least at minimum come to a Sunday feast. But then if we don't find any nectar in devotional service, then what happens? We stray to the material world. We stray into the land of Maya, the land of sense gratification, the land of exploiting others for our own our lust, our own greed, our own whatever. And so there's many things, but it's we have 15 minutes left. But maybe is there anything anyone wants to share, criticize, comments, questions, criticism? Otherwise, not. I'll share a few things and so.
I was just going to say, in Haridas Thakur's situation, I relate completely because I come from the Islamic background, and it was a very scary thing. Very scary thing. It's treason. It's treason. You can be beheaded and taken, missing. And so I felt that deeply because that was a nickname Josh gave to me, like, Haridasi.
Oh, really?
because the love of chanting, but also the fact
Haridasi?
that Haridasi. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
But the point is that the eyes of knowledge, because even when you're explaining that, like God has different names, and even in that religion, there's 99 adjectives to describe God at least in that religion.
Wow.
They won't see because they're only seeing themselves and that belief. They don't want to see anything else outside of it. So it was very special when you mentioned the Haridas Thakur and them beating him in 22 different marketplaces, and him still seeing Krishna, and them having this belief and saying, I have God too, but not seeing him through the way that Haridas, Thakur was seeing him. So I just wanted to share that. Was interesting because, here's two people, one sees Krishna and one's, say they see God or, in their head, but the same thing, the expression is different, the eyes of knowledge is different. One's in grad school and one's, not. So I just wanted to share that because that was a personal connection.
Wow, thank you for that. That was really nice. And you reminded me of that a lot of times people think, oh, I'm in this religion, so we're united. And so the people in my religion are my friends, and the people in another religion are my enemies. But I would argue that I wouldn't argue, it's a fact that even people within their own religion are each other's enemies. So what does that mean? That ended. At least I got Tatiana to smile. I'm glad she was feeling down. We all get our down days and stuff, but I'm glad that comment got to make her laugh. So what does that indicate? That indicates that uniform does not mean unity. Uniform does not mean unity. So we may have the same dress in a religion, but does not mean we are internally united. And so sometimes people think like that. And so therefore there's a famous pastime in the Bible. It's called, has everyone heard of this phrase, Good Samaritan? Good Samaritan. So what does that mean to you if you don't know the origin of it? What is a Good Samaritan? Can anyone mention? With the mic.
Good qualities showing through a person, a good Samaritan, doing good things.
Yes. Anyone else?
I would say a good Samaritan is someone who is selfless and takes on wanting to help others. Like they take on like their issues as if they were their own, even if they may not know them, like they kind of take them in as their own person. Bingo.
Yeah, even if they don't know them, they take them in as their own. So actually, this phrase, Good Samaritan, actually originates in the Bible. So long story short, Jesus, one person asked Jesus, basically something to the extent that, who is my neighbor? So Jesus explained the story of the Good Samaritan, the parable of the Good Samaritan. So he said, once upon a time, there was a Jewish man, and he was traveling in the countryside. And so the way he grew up is that the people within his religion are his friends, and the people outside of his religion are his enemies. So whenever he saw somebody outside of his religion, he says, he was conditioned from a child, this person is my enemy. So when he became an adult, Jesus told this parable. So this Jewish man, he was traveling in the countryside, and some dacoits beat him up and threw him in a ditch. So while he was lying helpless in a ditch, two people at two different times, two people from his same culture, his same religion, his same nationality, whatever. So you could say all of the above. They passed him by. The first person passed him by. He was thinking, I'm saved. This person is of my same religion, my same culture, my same country. So when this person of his same religion, his same culture, his same nationality passed him by, he just ignored them and walked by. Same with another person, same culture, walked by. So when he saw a Samaritan, he was taught that Samaritans are his enemy. Apparently, I haven't looked it up. Apparently, there's a place called Samaria, or back then, maybe it's not now, there was a place called Samaria, and it was the enemies of the Israelites or the Jews. And so he was taught that the Samaritans are his enemies. So when he saw a Samaritan, while he was lying in the ditch, he saw a Samaritan approaching. He was like, no, I'm doomed. He's going to kill me and I'm finished. This Samaritan wind up patching up his wounds, putting him on a horseback and taking him to a hospital. And so then Jesus, after telling this parable, he asked this person, now who do you think is the real neighbor of this man? The people inside his religion or the people outside his religion? So the answer is obviously. So this is a very important lesson, for our own, Krishna consciousness. Krishna says, Aham bija pradabita. I am the father of all living entities. He doesn't say I'm the father of only living entities within ISKCON or within the Vaishnava religion. I'm the father of everyone. And so therefore, so if this is how we see devotees, so basically what to do and what not to do is basically been what's described. So if we want to see what this vision of that only uniform indicates unity, then I always say this in every class, experiment with it. I think you'll find yourself in many battles. And therefore, you won't be able to see the greatness within anyone but yourself. And therefore, if this is the case, then we'll probably, like I said, I can't say what the result Krishna will give you. Just experiment with it. See how it works out for you. Just experiment with it. And so I could speak for myself. This vision of sin, oh, this is my brother because they have the same dhoti. Of course, I basically don't wear dhotis except in class. But if this person is my brother because they're in my same religion, if I had this vision, I could speak for myself. I can't speak for others, but this vision doesn't work out for me. And Krishna kicks my butt in many different ways through material energy if I have this same vision. So I'm sharing with you. I can't say how Krishna will reciprocate with you, but this is how he reciprocates with me. And like I said, try it, experiment with these two different visions, and see how it works out for you. I think we have a few more minutes left. There's one last thing I would like to share. Oh, Donovan, it's better that you share. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. So I'll incorporate whatever I was going to say into whatever your question is. Somehow or other, I'll figure it out.
Super awesome, very nice class. So much nectar came in through it, and I'm very happy to be here. I just want to kind of speak about the chapter that we read, the verse. And at the end it says, please quickly cut the ropes of our illusory attachment for children, wife, wealth, influential friends, home, and body. All such attachment is simply the effect of your illusory material energy. And I just feel like the class did such a nice job of, speaking to how we can cut those attachments. How we could what? Cut those attachments, cut those ropes, which is, like you said, keeping the unlimited ocean of Krishna, with us at all times, at any times, even in wrong places, right places, to keep that. So I just want to really stamp that awesomeness that was laid forth before us, that it was a really nice job connecting, like, this is what's going on, and this is like pretty much how you do it, how you walk this path, because we all have some kind of attachment for more children or a wife or this money or this, but to really cut those attachments so that we can progress spiritually, and keep that ocean with us is super powerful.
Jaya, thank you. Reminded me of so many points. I probably can't squeeze them in, but definitely I wanted to get to the second half of the verse. I'm glad you thought I addressed it, because I didn't think I did, but I'm very grateful you thought I did. But it's so many, there's so many points to, it's so much a limited time. But just FYI for a disclaimer, when we say cut your attachments to your family, etc., there's many classes that say, cut the attachment to exploit them. Oh, I'm getting married because I want to show off my trophy wife, or such, and not cut off that attachment. That doesn't necessarily mean, I'm tired of my husband, my wife, my friends, my family nagging me. I'm just going to abandon them, leave. So that's not obviously what is been described. And it's obviously this class is only, you can only discuss so many points. And so yeah, go ahead. Can you use them?
Okay. So the point that you're talking about being not being so attached to the roles that we play in our life. There's a saying that I heard where it's like, we can be materially attached to the things that we do, but spiritually detached. And I think that's kind of where, the transcendental, what the elevation where we're trying to get to spiritually, it's doing everything that we do in our spiritual practice is, what helps us elevate. Even though it may seem like somebody's like, oh, they go to work, they have kids, they do all these things, but it's, spiritually they're situated within Krishna.
Wow, very beautiful point, and you put it really eloquently. We may be materially attached externally, but spiritually detached internally. And so there's man, you guys are reminding me of so many things. The class is limited. There's actually a pass on like that because from an external point of view, who's more spiritually advanced, a detached monk or a so-called attached householder? So it's described that it depends on your consciousness. So Durvasa Muni, without going into details, he was a renunciate externally, but Ambarish Maharaj, a king, was actually he was married externally, but he was actually the true renunciate. How so? There's a verse, one of my favorite ones, 5:1:17 of the Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 1, verse 17. It says, Vayam Brahmata Savaneshu Apisya Yatasa Asesaha Sapatnaha Jitindriyasya Marati Buddhasa Griha Shamakim Nukaroti Avadiyam. It says, even if a renunciate travels from forest to forest, he must always fear material bondage because he's married to 6 co-wives, the mind and 5 senses. Manashishani Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati. Krishna says also in the Gita. On the other hand, the second half of the verse says, even householder life cannot harm a self-satisfied person who's divorced from Maya. And so Durvasa Muni, although he was externally a renunciate, he was actually married to Maya. And what does that mean? He was married to his pride. He was married to his envy. When Ambarish Maharaj, a great rich king, was receiving more recognition than himself, he spoke out in negativity. Why? Because he was married to his ego, married to his envy, married to his pride. And so therefore, the lesson is that although it may be easy to break up with our girlfriend, to divorce our wife, but it's not so easy to divorce Maya, even by accepting the dress of renunciate. So you need Krishna's mercy, and you need a lot of humility. So just because you may have no attachments externally, but you have attachment to prestige internally. And therefore we see, if you have this attachment to prestige, then what happens? You're in a lot of battles. Same thing. You're in so many battles. And these battles are, who are they caused by? Your own mind. Your own mind. Despite having many disciples, many followers, he was envious of a king who got some recognition too. So this is a lesson we could take. Just because you look like a devotee, like me, I'm not a devotee, but I don't like wearing these clothes. But that doesn't mean, you're detached because, I have no possession. You're attached to your fame, your pride, etc. So there's many points that could be. Here's the last lesson I'll share about saying what Bhaktisiddhanta say. I'll end with this. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta describes the difference between darshan, meaning to see the Lord, and devotion, to act in such a way where the Lord wants to see you. So he describes the difference between darshan and devotion. So there's, for reference, because in case you want to look it up, so I'm not just speaking spontaneously, this is from the Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, Volume 1, page 180 through 81. He says, quote, "We should not think of the Supreme Lord as an object of our vision. Instead, we should meditate on how we can acquire the qualification to become worthy objects of his vision. In other words, don't try to see God. Act in such a way that God wants to see you. And so it's also what Prabhupada describes the difference between Vapu and Vani. Vapu means to the physical presence of the Guru. And Vani means to follow the instructions of the Guru. So Prabhupada describes that better than Vapu, the physical presence of the Guru is Vani, following the instructions of the Guru. And actually, does everyone know who Rasa Mataji is? Rasa. So she sang at our kirtan last night. So I'll end with this. This is an important point. Do you know who Rasa Mataji is? Tatiana? She's the other lady who sang last night, other than Naveen. She was the lady. Yeah, Rasa. Yeah, Rasa. Exactly. Rasa's father is actually a Prabhupada disciple named Hari Vilas Prabhu. And I just found this out this year. So one Sunday feast, I had a long conversation with her and her husband. And she says she grew up partially in France. Whatever she mentioned to me, I said, this is exactly what I said to her. I said, is your father, this is what I told her, is your father Hari Vilas Prabhu? She was like, yes, how do you know? I said, because I quote him in Bhagavatam class all the time. But actually, Hari Vilas Prabhu is actually teaching us what not to do. So he's very humble. He says, I made a mistake in my association with Prabhupada and other devotees. But he's a very nice teacher. He was humble about it. Usually when we hear devotees, or usually as conditioned souls, we want to say, if I'm associating with Prabhupada, if I'm associating with my guru, we mention all the good times where we might receive some glorification. But he was very humble about it. And this is like written in stone. This is in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. He says, I made a mistake and Prabhupada chastised me. And so this is actually another lesson we can learn. If we make mistakes, don't try to cover them up. That doesn't mean we have to share all of our sinful activities, but if we make a minor mistake, so he was very humble about it. So long story short, this actually is described in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter 34. And so the title of the chapter is Jet Age Paribrajakacharya. So one day, Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture to the devotees at the Paris temple. And whether it was a Sunday feast, some lecture. For whatever reason, Hari Vilas Prabhu, he was the temple president at the time. Hari Vilas Prabhu and another, I think, a teenager named Ganesham Prabhu, they entered this lecture late for whatever reason. And so when Hari Vilas Prabhu entered the lecture late while Srila Prabhupada was speaking, he says, I bypassed all the devotees, went all the way to the front and sat right next to Prabhupada. And Ganesham Prabhu, he sat all the way in the back. And so he says, at that moment, Srila Prabhupada gave me my first lesson. And what was the lesson? He said, my first lesson was, Srila Prabhupada, he didn't even look at me. He didn't even acknowledge me. So actually one of the hosts, they introduced Ganesham and Hari Vilas. One of the hosts says, my dear Srila Prabhupada, this is Ganesham Prabhu. He's translating he's only a teenager, and he's translating your books in, I believe, obviously, French. So some French. And so Prabhupada says, very good, thank you very much. And so then the host says, oh yes, Prabhupada, this is Hari Vilas Prabhu. He's the temple president. That's what Prabhupada did, nothing. He didn't even look at him. He didn't even acknowledge his existence. So the lesson is that basically what we were describing, that what's better, follow the physical presence of the Guru or following the instructions of the Guru? And what's the instructions of the Guru? Urva bahu kari kohan shuna sarva loka namasuche ganti pada kante e shloka srinada pisuni chena tador ivasahi shnuna manina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. It describes that one should string this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it on one's neck for continuous remembrance. And what is that? Be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, offer all respect to others without expecting respect in return. And so, therefore, in Prabhupada's purports to the Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 5, verse 12, he says, a devotee should not be proud of his own service, but he should glorify the service of others. So Hari Vilas Prabhu, he can understand, yes, I was proud of my own service. This is what he's described. I was thinking I'm temporal president, so therefore I should have presidents because I'm the president. I should have presidents because I'm the president. And so therefore he bypassed all the devotees. He was putting himself above the devotees, and therefore Srila Prabhupada did not acknowledge them. So this is a lesson we could take in our own life. To the degree we want to put ourselves above others, not offering any gratitude, not offering any glorification on the devotees. If we exclusively glorify our guru and the deities, our Charyam Eva Hadaye Pujan, that verse I quoted from the 11th canto, chapter 2, verse 47, then I could say, experiment with it. You'll probably find yourself in a situation like Hari Vilas Prabhu. So that's our class for today. So thank you, everyone, for your kind participation, despite so many curveballs in today's class. So thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. Grantara Srimad-Bhagavatam Ki Jaya. Gaur Preman.